Police were called after someone sent a hateful letter to the family of a 13-year-old boy with autism, but they say the letter itself isn't a hate crime.
It was sent to a grandmother in Newcastle, Ontario, and it reads, and we have used the exact spelling that was in the letter. You selfishly put your kid outside every day and let him be nothing but a nuisance and a problem to everyone else with that noise-polluting wailing he constantly makes. It goes on to say, do the right thing and move on or euthanize him. Either way, we were all better off. The author claimed to be a mother in the neighborhood and did not leave a name.
And joining us now to talk more about this, social worker Gary Dernfeld. And Gary, I think we can all agree that the letter uses hateful language. How would a parent or grandparent react and respond to a letter like this?
Well, let's first talk about react. I would have to imagine that a parent or grandparent would actually be fearful, intimidated by such a letter. Might it be followed up with any action of intended harm? Will my child be bullied? Will my child be the victim of intended harm? So that's a very intimidating letter to receive, and it's very castigating, it's very demeaning. I love my children, I love my child, regardless of who they are, how they are, what differences they have. And so to have your child ripped apart like that, it hits one to the core, and it makes one feel unsafe in one's own home.
Okay, so Gary, my philosophy generally when someone's mean is that they are insecure and they have issues. I think this goes beyond that, though. What kind of person would write such really mean things?
You know what? I've contemplated that today, and I would have to think that this person has what we call narcissistic tendencies or narcissistic personality, where my needs and wants and attitudes are right and should prevail, and I should not be thwarted in the enjoyment of my home and property as I see I should be able to enjoy it. So this is a person who's incredibly self-righteous, egocentric, sees the world through a particular lens that's all about them, with no respect, no perception of their impact upon the receiver of that letter.
Can you then say, Gary, that this same person could just as easily write a letter into this show and, say something nasty, really nasty about Liz or myself or what you had to say with a personal attack? It's a type of person that would just write a letter, and anonymously especially, gutless, and say, well, here's what I think, blah, 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 and probably isn't harmful.
And you know what? I'm sure you've received those letters.
Oh, many.
Right? I've received them. I've received those kinds of comments as well, because we're public figures and we have a point of view to which may confront other persons in the public. And they feel that they have the right to just lambaste and spew vile towards us in presenting their position, their points of view. These are persons who are remarkably self-righteous. They are askew of the rest of the world. They hold very idiosyncratic views and don't appreciate how their views are askance, are different than the general community. That's part of a personality disorder.
Gary, the letter was sent to the grandmother, not to the boy himself. Some people say, hey, listen, grow thicker skin. There's people that are going to say nasty things, and you have to get over it.
No, this goes beyond grow thicker skin. To grow thicker skin is, I didn't like what you cooked for dinner last night. This is so beyond the pale that it's a vindictive personal attack to the mother, to the child, to the grandmother, to these neighbors. This is not something to get over. This is something to be concerned about. And you know what? It's actually going to do some good in a perverse or a paradoxical way. It's engaging us in a conversation about what autism is and what appropriate behavior is and what tolerance and acceptance are. And so this is a terrible backfire on the letter writer, but hurrah for that parent, that grandparent, and that child. Hurrah that they've brought it, or somehow it's been brought to the attention of the media, and that they don't need to shrink behind closed doors. They don't need to be scared. That the world is embracing them and being supportive. That's a great backfire. That's a good outcome to this terrible story.
We've got 30 seconds left. Police here say this isn't a hate crime. It was only sent to an individual, not a group of parents who have autistic children. Do you think this should be something where the law is involved?
Well, I would be wondering about, is there an intended threat or an insidious threat involved with that? I also wonder, maybe it is to a group of individuals because she's singling out this child as being autistic, not just the behavior involved. So from that perspective, maybe it still does qualify as a hate crime. I'm not the expert in that.
Right.
We all know that it was hateful and vile, and none of us like that.
Absolutely. Gary Dernfeld, Dundas social worker, thanks as always for your time today.
Great to be here.